Do you want to do more than follow orders, think outside of the box, and manifest your dreams? Then you've come to the right show. Welcome to the award-winning podcast, Holding Down the Fort by U.S. Vet Wealth. I'm your host, Jen Amos, a Gold Star daughter, veteran spouse, and entrepreneur. For Season 7, I am ecstatic to be in partnership with the Rosie Network to highlight motivational stories of personal growth, financial awareness, and autonomy in our military community. Now, let's get started. Hey everyone, got a question for you. Has a personal health challenge ever led you to discover and pursue a creative passion? Well, for the Resin 8 Art Savannah owner, Tracey S. Richburg, it certainly has. I had the opportunity to listen to Tracey share her story as an Army vet, a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, and how she started a resin art business. What began as a hobby to aid her recovery from radiation treatments turned into a full-fledged business. She credits her time as a 2021 Service to CEO graduate of the Rosie Network to making this possible. Tracey creates and sells resin art items like ornaments, cutting boards, and clocks. She works from her home studio during the week and participates in vendor events on weekends. She has built a customer base at local stores and has learned to plan ahead, prepare inventory in advance, budget, and take breaks to avoid burnout. Listen to Tracey's story of turning a hobby into a business, the importance of adaptability, and the balance between increasing sales and taking care of personal needs. Tracey, it was so great interviewing you as the last guest from the Rosie Network's Service to CEO program. We made it. We made it to the end of all these interviews. Hearing your story was, just the cherry on top to wrapping up, featuring everyone from the Rosie Network. So thank you to the Rosie Network. Thank you, Tracey. And thank you to our listeners for having stuck it out this whole season. I believe the next episode after this should be the last episode. Oh my gosh, the final episode of Holding Down the Fort for Season 7. But until then, let's be present. Let's be present and appreciate this moment. And also thank my company, U.S. Vet Wealth, for this ad-free conversation. U.S. Vet Wealth, we provide a ton of free resources and services, especially financial education and resources for our military retirees. You can get all of that plus bonus content for our show Holding Down the Fort by visiting holdingdownthefortpodcast.com/portal. Ton of free stuff. All season I have just been adding more and more free, valuable stuff in there. So I hope that you will join us. And until then, hang around after the outro for my post commentary. I also want to give you a final heads up here. If this is the first time you're listening to our show, or if you've been listening all season, I want to thank you for tolerating my audio quality. It may or may not sound different from past seasons. And it's my hope that you will focus on what Tracey has to share rather than what I have to say, because really my job as a host is to have our guests share their story with pride and conviction and passion. And I hope that you get that from today's conversation with Tracey. So happy listening, and I will chat with you in the post commentary. Enjoy. All right, I am so excited to introduce Tracey Richburg to Holding Down the Fort by U.S. Vet Wealth and the Rosie Network. Tracey, welcome to Holding Down the Fort.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and nice seeing you again.
Yes. And I have to say, third time's a charm to get on your calendar.
A lot has happened in the last couple of weeks, but yeah.
I believe you. It actually blows my mind that at the time we're recording, it's August, and July was a jam-packed month for me. It already feels like it's a lifetime ago because of how eventful it was. So I hear you.
I totally understand. It was like the winter and spring went really slow, and it was like summer was just like bam, bam, bam. And now it's like getting ready to go into fall already. So
I know, it's so crazy, which at the time that this gets published, it'll be fall, which means when this comes out, I'm going to freak out because I'll be like, wow, it's already, this episode's out. So I'm going to say that now so that when it comes out, I'm going to hear this and remember this conversation. But all right, Tracey. Well, what I want to do first, just to warm us up, is to ask you a icebreaker question, lighthearted icebreaker question. So I have four cards here, and I just want you to pick from a number between 1 and 4 what your question will be.
Number 2.
2. Okay. So 2 is, all right, here's a very easy question. Are you a coffee or tea person? And
tea.
Explain. Tea? Okay. And explain yourself. Why not coffee?
I don't know. It's like my mom drinks coffee. My kids drink, my dad, everyone I know drinks coffee.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just, I don't even really like the smell of coffee. Like I'll go into Starbucks to get like a milkshake or frappuccino, whatever it's called. And then I smell like coffee for the rest of the day. And I'm like, ugh. I don't know. I was doing a class and somebody wanted to meet up at Starbucks. And I was like, no.
I feel like Starbucks is like fast food restaurants in a sense where if you're in there for too long, you walk out smelling like it. And
you do.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah. And for like coffee lovers, they love it. But like for everyone else, like you're saying, you're like, I got tea and I walk out smelling like coffee.
Right. Like my daughter still drink iced coffee and vanilla, mocha, whatever she orders. And I'm like, I don't just give me a tea with a little bit of sugar.
Well, see, that's good. I mean, I'm generally more of a coffee person, but actually right now I'm drinking tea just because I know the benefits of it. Like it's good for my voice and there's just more nutritional value, I heard, at least from drinking tea versus coffee.
Yeah.
So I get it. And at the same time, coffee, it's like this weird addiction that my husband and I have. And especially now that like we add milk in our coffee at home. And I've recently learned how to froth milk. And now it's this bad addiction of like, I'm only drinking coffee just so I could froth the milk. Like, I didn't even know what frothing meant until my husband bought the frothing machine thing or the thing to make, you know, like the milk fluffy. And I was like, it's just fun doing that. But anyway, I digress. We're talking about tea here. I do love tea. I especially love like lemon and lavender flavor. And then I like to like add honey sometimes if I really need it. Like
my daughter 1 year, she got me for Christmas, I think it was like everything caramel, like caramel candy, caramel lotion, caramel, whatever. And she had got me some caramel tea.
Oh, wow.
And that is like the absolute best tea I have ever had. And I love that, just that tea.
That's awesome. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, and I forget what the name of it is, but she works at Target, so I'm sure it was Target or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So my question for you is, do you add milk to your tea or not?
No, I don't. Just regular, sometimes lemon.
Yeah.
But sugar, sometimes honey, but that's about it. I'm just a plain like tea person. My aunt, she made me tea one time and it had milk in it. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, it's so crazy because I'm not like that either. I mean, milk for coffee to me makes sense, but I guess that's how the British do it. The British do it with like, you know, milk and tea or milk and, you know, a block of sugar or whatever.
Right.
I think I've only tried it once and I just haven't done it since. So I think that's telling.
I tried it once and I did not like it. And I don't even think I finished it. I think I might have spilled it and been like, oh my gosh, I spilled the tea.
You're like, oh boy, I'm so clumsy.
So I didn't have to drink it.
There you go. I won't tell anyone that was actually on purpose. Well,
but this was a long, long time ago. So.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thanks, Tracey, for indulging me in that question. And I learned so much about tea today. Like I didn't even know about caramel tea. So I feel like I'm going to look into that now. I was actually, the last thing I'll mention, as the other day I was trying to find a substitute for coffee and I looked into like coffee flavored teas. And it turns out they exist. I don't know if they taste good, but they exist. Yeah, just letting you know it's out there. It's on Amazon. I haven't ordered it yet, but I hope maybe by the time of this recording comes out, I might give commentary on it. I don't know yet. So we'll find out. I will keep you posted.
Keep me toasted, please.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Well, Tracey, I'm so excited to be chatting with you today and to, reconnect after a couple of weeks and talk about your business and, what you do and all the fun things that you get to enjoy in that office of yours. But why don't we go ahead and for listeners that are getting to know you for the first time, give us a quick snapshot of, what your business life looks like.
first of all, my business name is Resin 8 Art Savannah, and I do resin ornaments, cutting boards, wall hangings, clocks, just different things. If I see something, I'm going to try to recreate it or make something my own.
Yeah.
I do like the ocean design boards. And I've also done, this is a clock I'm working on, so it's not complete yet. We'll have a clock
that almost looks like a plate, like how clear it is.
Yeah, it's like all shiny and so it has some sanding to do on the back, but yeah. And then little ring dishes or, you know, but just things different things that I think of, or if I see, or I get ideas, and I'm gonna try anything. I'll try it once. If it doesn't work, then it never happened. But but basically for me, like just business life, during the week, say like Monday through Thursday, I'm in my office here creating, building up inventory, and then like during the week, if there's a few stores I need to restock, I'll do that during the week. And then usually Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, I'm either doing events or, and that'll be like either the 3-day weekend or Saturday, Sunday. But that's basically what I do.
What a lifestyle. So I imagine that, let's say, for example, I go to the farmer's market or, I go to like a local trade show, like on the street or whatever. You're one of those people that has a booth and has all of your arts and crafts out.
I'll have my tent set up, my tables, and, there's one event that I do, and sometimes I'm there till, 10 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night.
Wow.
So that's a full day, and that's like 3 days. And there's another one that I do that's usually like, maybe 10 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. Yeah. So, I mean, it makes for a long weekend, but, I love being out there. I love talking to people about what I do. People, they'll ask me questions. How do you do this? And how do you do that? And I just like talking to people, and, and then I occasionally I get those emails back where people will buy like a clock or buy something, and they'll show me where they hung it and everything. And it just makes me feel good.
I love that. It sounds to me, Tracey, that you have a good balance of alone time, of like introvert time and extrovert time. Like, I mean, I imagine not a lot of people visit you in your office, but like when you go out to the trade shows and the vendor events, it's like you could talk to people for hours. And I personally find that to be a skill set. Like not everyone can be an ambivert, can do both. Like some people just prefer to be in front of a computer or kind of keep to themselves. And then there's ones who are highly, highly sociable. So I have to say that it is amazing that you have that balance with alone time and extroversion.
I had to like learn, talking to people, because I guess basically I've just been one to be to myself, I'm in that zone, and, but I guess being out there and putting myself out there, I just had to learn to, to open up. And, I mean, sometimes you go to, different booths or something, and, you kind of get that vibe that maybe the person is not maybe that friendly, or I mean, just something that, and then you just don't want to interact with that person. But, it really helps to engage that person, to ask them questions, hey, where are you traveling from? And then they start talking, and, and a lot of times they just, I mean, I've had people say, I wasn't going to buy anything, but, you talk this up and I'm going to get it. So it just helps to engage with the customers, just to be there, ask them questions, ask them about them, because it's not always about what you have to sell. Yeah. Sometimes just asking them a question about themselves, it's beneficial.
Yeah. I like that, because sometimes, even though if I'm out at one of these events and like I want to be there, but I'm also like anti-social, and it's like I want to like watch, I want to look at the booths from afar kind of thing. But it's nice to know that like vendors such as yourself, it's like you're focusing on just at the very minimum, just getting to know people, and you're not trying to hard sell, I mean, sure, obviously that's, I mean, to an extent, there's a part of that, but like for the most part, it sounds like you really just enjoy being out and about. And more importantly, you find fulfillment and gratification when people buy your stuff and send you pictures later saying, hey, well, look where I posted this clock. And I think that's wonderful.
Right. It's like a fine line between trying to sell something and then actually engaging the customer in a way where you're not like just pushing your stuff on them. Like I've been to other events and people, if something, they might just be like, sell, sell, sell. And I'm just like, it's just like a turnoff. Like, I don't even want it now.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Seriously, yeah.
So like when I talk to someone and, you know, and I asking them where they're from and how long they're here, I generally want to know.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's wonderful. I think that's great to have like a genuine interest in people. And at the very minimum, it's a way to like exercise your social muscle. And when you are in a position to sell, to me, it sounds like it doesn't come off as salesy, because like it's about getting to know the customer and educating them on your things and sharing your story about why you made the products to the point where they sell themselves.
Right. Yep. And I have like repeat customers that'll be like, you know, I saw you last year over in such and such, and I just had to get more stuff. And I'm like, I mean, it feels good that, you know, people, number one, they recognize you.
Yeah. And
number two, they're just repeat customers and they search you out, I guess, you know.
Yeah. You
know, so.
That's wonderful. Well, I mean, that's a testament to the quality of your work and also your customer service, because they value what you do and they value you as a person, that they want to seek you out and want to support a creative such as yourself. And I think that, you know, that's beautiful. And clearly, you know, your face is lighting up just talking about kind of a day in the life of Tracey. And it just makes me sad. It just makes me happy to see that.
Okay.
Yeah, it shows. I hope our listeners can hear it, and anyone that joins us via YouTube will see your energy and excitement for what you do. And you know, it's interesting because when we were talking offline, I know that this was not your first business, right? Like, in fact,
Correct.
This kind of came on accident. So tell us a little bit about that story of how you fell into this, into your second business.
How I got started was I was doing another business, and this was back in 2018. And I was diagnosed with a brain tumor.
Oh my goodness, Tracey.
I did, you know, the treatments and everything. And kind of like while you're recovering, you know, I'm a busybody. I have to be doing something. You know, I'm watching videos and I'm seeing this resin on Instagram, and I was like, that looks kind of interesting to do. There was a art center here locally, and they were doing a class, so I signed up and I took the class. You know, I made my first cutting board and it was absolutely awful. So I was like, what am I going to do with this? So, and that was right before COVID and everything locked down. So I was at home and I had some free time. So, you know, order my resin, order my molds, and, you know, started working. And, you know, I was basically making things for myself. Had a few friends and they were like, you know, can you make me this? Can you make me this? And I was like, people are buying these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at that time, you know, I still had the other business, and I was with the Rosie Network going through their program, and we had just started, and I told Ebeth, I said, you know, I don't know if I should continue because I don't have this other business anymore.
Yeah.
And, you know, she kind of encouraged me. She was like, well, you know, you can make up a business and maybe it's a business you might want in the future. I mean, it'll help you with that, you know. And I was like, well, I am doing this resin. I said, maybe I could make that a legitimate business. You know, I had never thought about going in, you know, jumping in with both feet to do that as my business. But I said, you know, I think, no, let's see if I can make this work. So, you know, I went through the program, started over, did everything over again that I had did with my other business, but, you know, put this business into the scenario that we were working with. And by the time I got out, or by the time, you know, we had graduated from that, you know, I had slide decks done. I was working on getting my licenses and my insurance, and it was kind of like a jump start where something that might have taken me months to get into, it was kind of like that push and that encouragement that I needed to get me focused on, you know, number one, having something to do, having something that was fulfilling for my life, and a way to have this business that was actually making a little bit of money.
I think that's so awesome how it was your first business that was the reason why you joined, only for that to not work out. But you had this little hobby on the side where you're like, oh, let me see if I can turn it into something. And now here you are, doing like 3-day weekend events, working there for 12 plus hours and, having your current clients. I mean, amazing to see. So much has changed in just the last couple of years since you started.
Right. And, and it's not just doing the events, like there are a number of stores locally that I sell my items in too. So I just picked up another one probably 2 months ago. So it's encouraging. And that's kind of what keeps me going, outside of the events. Like I decided to take most of August off because after being in the sun in July and June, it takes so much out of you. And I was like, I just need to relax for a little bit before we go into the fall and the Christmas season. And then that'll give me a chance, actually the next 2 months, August and September, to just kind of take it easy, build up my inventory so I have enough. So then when it comes around to when I'm doing every weekend or I've had something planned every weekend, then I'm not so much rushing during the week to get, my store stocked and sending out orders and, just, I don't know. I'm in my regrouping time right now.
Oh, good. I
guess you could say.
Well, I'm glad to capture you at this time to share, for you to slow down and actually reflect on your journey. And I commend you for deciding to take a month off. You're like, you know what? Summer's been brutal and it takes a lot out of me and I want to restock. Fall season is a whole other season. So August is going to be my month off. I also think that August is typically the hottest month of the year anyway, I feel like in most places. So I think that was smart of you to just, stay in.
Yeah. I was telling someone, I was like, I was talking about my schedule and I was like, well, this weekend I have this, next week I have this, 2 weekend. And I was like, every weekend I had something going. Yeah. And I was like, and they said to me, they were like, you need to slow down. You're going to get sick. And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I said, I have been going extra hard this whole, spring and summer.
Yeah.
I was like, I really need to take some time off because I don't want to be in that position where I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then stuff gets backed up and, so if I'm not making stuff, I don't have stuff to sell. So,
yeah.
I just didn't want to be in that position. So taking that time off to kind of regroup and kind of think about where I want to go and, just kind of plan a few things out. I think you just need to stop and think instead of just work, full steam ahead all the time, just taking that time off to have a little bit of you time, have a little bit of, just to focus on yourself, I guess, instead of just being all business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think if there's anything I've noticed in a number of the entrepreneurs I've interviewed on the show so far is the importance of knowing when to take a break and recognizing that is your privilege as an entrepreneur, is that you can do that. You can work hard, you can also rest. And I really like how you're giving yourself a month to just regroup, re-energize, restock, and all the things. Because, there are people who are led to believe that you have to go 100% all the time. And it does come back to you later down the line. Like you think you're going fast and then like you said, one day you're really sick or something throws you off and you can't work for a while. And I think it's great for you to be proactive on that.
Yeah. And even though I'm taking the next 2 months off, I'm still working.
Yeah.
But just not
under the sun.
Just not. Right.
Yeah. Well, I think that's I think that's amazing how you've been able to develop a book of business for yourself, not just these events that you go to, but also it sounds like brick and mortar businesses that like to order your products. And I'm curious, what that process was like for you. How are you able to, find these vendors? Was it word of mouth or did you pitch to them? I'm curious what that process was like for you to develop those relationships.
A few of them I have reached out to, or, other people who are creative, such, they might say, hey, this place here, they take, consignments or, they do this or they do that. And I've reached out to them to say, hey, this is what I have. Yeah. This is what I can offer. And, sometimes they have rooms, sometimes they don't. I mean, I've got into a few places like that. Sometimes I'll do events and other vendors, they might have stores So they asked, if you wanted to bring some of your stuff in. I've had people reach out to me from what they've seen on like my social media or just by word of mouth. So, when I have someone that comes to me and say, hey, I've seen your stuff, or, I've had people when I'm down doing events and they'll come up to me, I have this store here and, do you wholesale or, and I was like, sure do.
That is awesome.
So it's not doing the events. It's not just about, selling, to customers. It's actually selling to other businesses sometimes too.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a combination of like doing the actual outreach. Like, I mean, it's a combination of a number of things, like showing up to the vendor events, to, word of mouth, to actually, hitting the pavement and reaching out to these businesses and offering your work. And so I like how you diversify the way that you build your book of business.
Yes. Yeah. I think, and I tell other vendors, like, there was someone that was just starting out and they were like, well, how do you find out about these events? And I was like, girl, a lot of times I find out about them and it's too late for this year. So I have like a 2-year calendar and I'll mark it on my calendar for next year to be on the lookout for when vendor opportunities open for the next year if I miss it for this previous year. I said, when I do events, I try to ask people, are there any events that you like to do or what have you done lately? And that kind of gives you a lead because, a lot of times, you don't know what you don't know, but you have to like ask around, ask other people. I found events just on like Facebook, like local Facebook. And it's, like the same way I was saying about, getting your items into stores and shops. Just, talking to other people and looking up gift shops or looking up, local art and reaching out to them to see if they do take consignment or if they do take local items and stuff like that. Sometimes they say no, sometimes you'll be surprised and they might say yeah. And then, then you're good to go.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I like, giving yourself that ability to like be proactive and keep your options open and cast that wide net in a sense.
Right.
Yeah. We were talking early on about how it was truly like the Rosie network that if it wasn't for, shout out to Beth, if it wasn't for her telling you to stick with the program, you wouldn't have come out with this business. And I'm just curious, going back to that experience with the Rosie network, is there anything else from that experience that you took away that you feel like is worth sharing to our listeners?
The biggest thing for me is just learning that ability to just pivot. Like, if, something happens, just that quick thinking to find a solution or just to find a different way to go in the direction that you want to go.
Yeah.
And I had about a week to like figure out like, man, should I just drop out or should I, so I sent her an email and I explained the situation to her and I broke it down and she was like, no, you don't have to drop out. She was like, you're here. We've already started. You're not going anywhere, basically. So yeah, I'm really thankful for that because when I was in the military, I was a medical lab technician. So I was in that medical field. And then the other business I had was like food and beverage. And this whole art thing was just totally new to me.
Yeah.
And I had no idea how to go about it. I mean, there was a lot that I didn't know that while through working with the Rosie Network and just going through the program and researching how to do it and how to go about it, that, I'm thankful for that little push and I'm thankful for them wanting me to stay.
Yeah.
That kind of, turned up the fire.
Yeah.
And kind of got me going because I think I was kind of like in a slump for a quick minute. And I was like, you got to get out of this and you just got to do what you got to do. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I commend you for persevering because I think in your situation, most people would say, oh, well, my business didn't work out. Thanks for the opportunity, but, I'm out. And,
right.
Special shout out to Beth and the Rosie Network, of course, for like, nope, we already locked the doors and threw away the key. Like, you're here till it's over.
Right.
I mean, I know it didn't go like that, but the point is that they insisted. And it sounds like it sounds like you're very glad that they did because, here
I
you are.
am.
Like, it is kind of like, I mean, do you ever have those moments where like, man, I used to serve in the military, like military and art, they don't really go hand in hand. Like people wouldn't think, I feel like the average person wouldn't look at you and think, wait, how many years did you serve in the military? Like I would have no idea.
I mean, there was, I guess all through my life, I would go to different craft events and I would see things and I would kind of like break it down and I might go home and make a few, maybe one for my mom, one for me, one for somebody else or something like that. But I never thought about making it what I do.
Yeah.
It was just something that was always like a hobby for me, something to, just to take up time. And, back to when I first started, I ended up taking the class for resin as a way because, like I was going through radiation treatments. So it was just that way of, partial relaxation. And I think I was having like some memory issues and some cognitive issues and things like that. And while I was working with the resin, I might have a problem and then I'd have to think fast because, once I mix up the resin, I have like 20 to 30 minutes to work with it before it's set. So if there was an issue like, okay, how do I get this to work or how do I get that to work? And it was like helping me with my quick thinking, my problem solving. And I think that's kind of what kind of kept me going with it because, as I'm, working with it and learning about it and, the little do's and don'ts about it, it kind of helped me all around with like memory and problem solving. Like,
Wow.
like I'll tell you this story. So last 2 weekends ago, we were doing an outside event and it's one of those events where you leave your tents and everything overnight. So it was a Friday night, storm came through, Saturday morning, we were getting ready to go. And the one guy sent a picture of my tent and it was like totally destroyed.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, my stuff. And then, that thing, I mean, I could have totally freaked out, but I didn't because I know it happens. But then on the other side, I'm thinking, okay, when you get that thinking that comes, okay, let me take this. I might need this. Let me take this extra tent. Let me take this. Let me take some extra stock. It just I think I've gotten better at pre-planning, making sure I have like all the supplies that I need and just that thinking ahead and kind of thinking of what I might need before I might need it.
Yeah.
So I think it was kind of like a self-therapy for me because a lot could go wrong working with this and trust me, it has.
Oh, I believe you.
Just being able to anticipate problems and having a plan already worked out in advance in case that happens.
Yeah.
Just a lot of quick thinking. And I think, I am glad that I got into working with the resin because I don't know, my outcome with my health might have been a little bit different if I hadn't, and I'm thankful for that, and people, I have like a little bio card. I have my story on there and everyone's like, are you all right now? And I'm like, I'm great. I'm wonderful.
That's amazing.
Resin has given me life, I guess.
Yes. The answer is resin.
Right.
The keyword to life is resin.
Right.
Oh, what a beautiful story.
Yeah. And I mean, I tell people ask me and, I've had a customer and this was a couple of weeks ago and, I always put my card in with my stuff and maybe like an hour or two later, she came up to me and she was talking to me and she's like, I had the same tumor and we were just talking and I was like, oh, we were talking. And so it was just, another connection I had with the customer. So
yeah. I really like how you share your story. You share what you went through. I think that's what really helps with a business's overall brand, especially an independent person such as yourself, to say, hey, this is my personal story. And this is why I do what I do. This is very therapeutic for me, not just keeping my hands busy, but also my mind. And then the gratification of other people enjoying what I have made.
I tend to gravitate toward businesses with a backstory. Yeah. With an interesting backstory, I guess what I'm trying to say, and I think when like even when I first started, and I'm trying to do a certain technique, and you can't find anywhere where anybody says, hey, this is how this is done. They'll show it to you in a quick 15-second video, but you're like, well, how's that done? So, people me personally, have spent a lot of money trying to do a certain thing. And finally, after about a year, I stumbled upon the secret, and I'm like, why couldn't somebody just tell me that like hundreds of dollars ago? So that's why when, people, if somebody might be starting out and they might ask me a question, how do you do this and how do you do that? I'm like, I tell them this is how I do it, because I'm like, hey, I'm just trying to save you some money and months of frustration. This is how it's done. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's wonderful. And, sometimes it's those expensive lessons that stick with us, and it's great that you want to impart that wisdom to other people who want to do something similar to you. And either way, what I'm hearing from you is that you really enjoy keeping your hands busy and your mind busy. It's like, this is just a way to stay on your feet, think on your feet and pivot, and to not fold if something as, sporadic as your tent's going down because of a storm to hold you back. It just seems like you are very present and adaptive in your life, and you get a lot of joy out of doing what you do.
I do. And one thing about the whole storm thing is, there was probably 4 other people or 5 other people whose tents were just kind of crushed. And it was kind of inspiring to me that they were just like, I'll just go to Sam's and get another tent and I'll be right back.
Yeah. Wow.
And we were all set up that day again. And I was like, this is amazing that we're just used to this. So we know this could happen. And here we are back at it again.
Yeah.
We're either very determined or very crazy. What is it?
It might be both.
Yeah. Both. I think it's both. A little bit of both, but yeah.
I love hearing those stories because I think that being self-employed, and in your case, like a creative, it's not for the faintest of hearts, and it's like, but if you're in it enough, like you learn to take things like that, circumstances like that. The way that I describe it with my husband, and my husband actually taught me to look at it this way so I don't get so emotional sometimes. I know how to rechannel my emotions better now, but the way that I reframe circumstances is I say, oh, we have new information, we have new information. Let's figure out how do we tie this into our original plan, because our plan is officially changing as of right now.
Right. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. It's just like going through the motion, like rather than be like, oh no, my plan has failed. It's all over. I'm a failure. Like, it's more like, okay, we got new information. Or like in this case, oh, okay, I'm just going to go get a new tent. I'll be back. And then we'll continue. I love that attitude, because it's very much like you're just being present, Also, like you're mentioning earlier, it's like these things can happen, and it's good to be proactive. It's good to prepare. It's kind of like, this will probably have been edited out by now, but we had a technical issue here for a second, and in the moment we were able to figure it out. And it's good to have those curveballs being thrown our way, because it just makes us better, to adapt, and makes us more present and do what we really want to do, which is make our customers happy.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So Tracey, one thing we talked about offline is that you are a self-funded business, or especially when you started, you were self-funded. But, years have gone by, and clearly you keep yourself busy to the point where you are allowing yourself to not go to outdoor events for the next 2 months so you can, rejuvenate, restock, and all the things. And so I'm curious for you now, looking at your life today, what does sustainability, look like for you and your business?
Okay. I think one thing about it is just pacing myself with events and, putting a little bit aside for savings. Like during the first part of the year, I was planning, like back in November, December, planning out all my events for 2023 and setting a goal for the month. And, and with that goal of how much I wanted to make, I'd also have to keep an account how much it would cost me to go to these events, how much inventory I would need. I actually started off by, I don't know, I kind of just jumped right in, and then I had a business, and I guess I was just learning as I went when I first started. Okay, I have, I made this much. Okay, it cost me this much. Let me set this aside because I know I have other events coming up and I know I'll have to pay for my entrance fee for that. Or if I know I want to make so many clocks or so many boards, just knowing how much I'll need to make for them. But I think I am going into my 4th year, and it's just been a matter of saving for me.
Yeah.
Trying to anticipate how much I'll need or how much inventory I'll need for the month, how much inventory I'll need for the stores and events and things like that, and kind of just planning. Right now, if I have a very good month, I might order a lot ahead. And then like right now, you can't see it, but outside my door, I have all these boxes stacked up, just waiting for me to get to. But, that's an expense I won't have to worry about for the next couple of months because I have, items that I need to make and get to, but I haven't yet, but I have them here.
Yeah.
So I guess, just that saving. And I think one thing, like I use Square for my business and they have an option, like an auto saving type thing. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten into the habit ever since like last year of setting aside like 35% of all sales. So I don't even see it. It just goes into the savings account, and I check it. I was like, wow, I have this amount that's saved in there. So I think that helped me because if I had to do it on my own, I might not have done it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I need to sign up for that.
I like the options where I don't even see it where it's going. I'll see what I have available. And this whole savings thing is out of the way. And I don't even have to check it until, I have until like tax time or if I have like vendor events that the pricier ones or something like that. But I just kind of leave it alone. So
yeah. What a pleasant surprise. It's like finding money in your pocket. You're like, ooh.
Right. And I don't even check it, but it's there. And I know it's there. When I need it, it's there. But as for what I'm doing now, it's just the savings and planning ahead. And, like even in 2022, I usually take off, January. I don't do any events in January and February for the most part. But that's when I clean out my whole office. I mean, I take everything out and just clean everything. And if there's something that I haven't used this past year, I'll get rid of it because I'm probably not going to make it. Like I'll have these big ideas of what I'm going to do and no time to do it. And then if I haven't used it that previous year, I just kind of get rid of it because it's not going to get done. But just kind of planning ahead. And when I have those good weeks where I have a lot of energy and I make a lot of stuff, then I just kind of put it in the box or put it on the shelf. And so I have like backstock, I guess. So there's a lot of stuff I have backstock on that when it's time that I need it, I'll have it, because when I make a lot of my stuff, I like to let it cure for like 2 weeks. So even if I make something this week, it's not going to be ready to sell until like the end of August or September. So I got to do that thinking ahead too. So
yeah, that is a lot of planning. I imagine you have a very full calendar.
I do.
Are you one of the people who have like multiple calendars and it's like color coded?
I do.
Not that I see your calendar, but that's what I'm guessing.
I have my 2-year planner and I have it color coded events. Days I'm working at my stores and I have, color coding. And then I have my calendar on my phone that has the color coding in it.
Oh, that's awesome. So when did you decide like, okay, I'm going to block off August and September? Like, was that like planned in advance or was it kind of like you had a moment recently? You were like, okay, I need to take these 2 months off.
I was already planning on slowing down and taking September off. But after being outside for a total of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 days last month, I was like, I think I'm done. I think I'm not going to sign up for anything, although I did sign up for a weekend at the end of August. I don't know. I just couldn't stay away, I guess. I was like, well, 3 weeks is enough. Let me take 3 weeks off, do an event, and then take off 3 weeks in September and then do an event at the end of the month. So I'm compromising because I can't sit still for too long. I'm a busybody and I like to be the go, go, go. And
yeah. Well, I think that's very wise, for you to, pay attention to your needs and your bandwidth and, asking yourself, do I want to repeat this for August? Do I want to be out in the sun, especially in August of all months of the year? Because I feel like August is, I just feel like it's always the hottest time of the year. I don't know. That's it might just be me, but I'm pretty sure it's August. And it's funny because like my best friend and I were talking recently, like, oh, wow, the weather in August is kind of cool right now. And I said, no. This is just the calm before the storm. It may seem cool, but like, just you wait. Mid-August, like it's gonna happen. I just know it. Like, don't get your hopes up. It's not fall season yet.
Right. You can't. And especially in the South, we have like false fall, and then we have fake summer, and when it starts to cool down, I was like, it's going to be 100 degrees by the end of the week.
Yeah, exactly. Planning ahead,
right. And I think, every year I've tried to, beat my sales for the previous year. And, I'm graphing, and I have this graph that is like, oh, wow, look how much I did last year as compared to this year.
Yeah.
And in June with the heat, I was like, I'm just not going to make it. It's just not going to get done.
Exactly. I can't. It's like,
I can't do it.
Yeah, it's like success doesn't always have to be linear. It's okay. I don't need to keep beating myself every single year. And again, it's like there's this constant theme I'm getting from your story is like allowing yourself to adjust or course correct, or, it's okay to take a couple of steps back, because it's like, being self-employed, like you really have the ability to be mindful of your needs and your bandwidth. So I just really like how meticulous and well planned you are. Also, how you allow yourself to pivot. And it just seems like you're very self-aware is what I'm hearing from your story. Like, to listen to yourself and your needs. And I think that it is very common in this type of space to just overwork yourself. And like you said before, like you got it. The best time to rest is when you don't need it, because you might actually, like when you need it, it might actually take you out. So, I just recognize that in hearing your story. And I imagine that took time for you to figure out, right? It's not like you always knew that.
No, like even like at the beginning of the year, like I set these goals, and then it came to a point where this month it's just not going to be. But, look how well you did do. Yeah. Even in despite that, I may not have met that goal, but overall for the year, I'm still ahead. So, even you might have a goal met and you might not make that goal, but then you have to reflect on maybe the previous month or the months before. It just kind of puts it in perspective that, sometimes it's the whole pivot thing to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. And, I saw this shirt and it just had pivot on it, and it just kind of spoke to me. And I was just like, this goes back to 2021 when I had to just, and I think it's just in my mind now that things change and you have to, maybe think quickly on your feet to continue on that path or to make another path to reach your goal.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm being fueled on now, is just that ability to strive ahead. But then also when you come to obstacles, you can go over them, or you can go around them or under them or whatever. But you can still reach that goal, but it might not be in the way that you first planned, but it's still possible to get to where you need to be.
Yeah. It's getting me to think about like how the fun and also the nerve-wracking part of entrepreneurship is finding that collaboration with what you're in control of, and then what the external world will throw your way,
Right.
Because if I think that if you are naturally, and this is me generally speaking, if someone is generally like, a control freak, or they want to know every single detail and be in control of everything, this is going to be a hard life, because you're going to get humbled very quickly. Right, and you could either embrace it, realize that it's part of the process and it's actually a beautiful process, or, you're not going to last in this life very long. So it's really great to hear like how, you learned that for yourself and how you allowed yourself to, big caps pivot, when like something came up, or even just for yourself when you kind of knew that it was time to take 2 months off, for example. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah. It's I had to learn it because, there have been times where I've just kind of, shut down maybe for like a day or two. And then I have to, pep talk myself, like, get out of this funk you're in. Yeah. It's not doing you any good. Come on, think about a solution, or think about another way to do this, or another plan of attack. And, and then it might be 2:00 in the middle of the night. And I'm just like,
yeah.
Let me try I can see how this works, so yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. I just actually just last night, I had this, I was up late. I mean, I've been having a hard time sleeping in the last week, but that's a whole conversation for another time. And I've learned to embrace it and say, okay, well, what is this night of quietness and silence where no one's bothering me is showing me right now? It's a time for deep reflection, and so, yeah, again, just really looking at our circumstances with a different lens. And, I still think, though, it is important to feel your feelings. And if you're going to have those days where you need to shut down for a little bit, and that's totally fine, so long as you know that you can't stay there, you just can't stay there. And I think that's just such a great lesson for life as well, is you just can't stay in your sorrows or, your circumstances, and you got to move forward because that's what life is. You got to live it, so it's great how you give yourself that, you have that inner dialogue or that inner cheerleader to, help you get back on your feet.
I think it's okay to kind of wallow in it for a little while and just embrace it. But then, after a few days, I'm like, all right, okay, what are we going to do now?
I love that.
This is not productive, come on, but yeah.
I love that. My phrase to myself, once I fully feel my feelings, is I'll be like, okay, I'm over it. I'm moving on. That was, and it's funny because sometimes my husband would be like, oh, I thought you were feeling this way. And I was like, honey, that was 5 minutes ago. I've moved on, just being able to feel your feelings and just recognize hey, okay, it was felt, it was valued, and we're letting it go now, and we're moving on with our lives because
exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I can relate to your story in that sense. I'm like, yeah, I'm over it. That was 5 minutes ago. I'm just done. But
so in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so 5 minutes ago. Just wow. You're still living in 5 minutes ago. Come on, get with the program.
Right.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah. No, it's funny. But yeah, Tracey, I really like your story. To me, it sounds slow and steady and methodical, while also, leaving room open to pivot. And I want to make sure that you were able to share everything you want to share about your business, or also any other reflections that you feel is worth sharing with our military community, whether or not they become entrepreneurs. I think a lot of what you're sharing, I feel like a lot of them would be understandable. Everyone would get set a schedule, plan ahead, all the things. But, the main theme that I got was listen to yourself and know when to take a break and all that. But other than that, is there anything else you want to make sure you mention on the show as we start to wrap up here?
I guess the one other thing that I would say is that if you have questions, it's okay to ask. Because I've had questions about certain things, and I might look at a book or I might try to find it on the internet, but then, I might still have this question in my head, and inevitably I always meet someone who I'm talking to, and it was that person comes around at the right time and they're magically there to answer my question.
Yeah.
And I'm I might be let me run this by you, or what do you think about this? And, just reach out to others. There may be people in your life that have great ideas or that have solutions that you might not even know until, you ask.
Yeah. Ask and you will receive, I think, is
Correct.
the old time phrase there. If you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Right.
Yeah. Those are the two that pop up in my head. I love it, Tracey. I love it. And, but yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me and share your story and kind of go a little over here. I apologize, but we're almost done.
No
I promise.
Problem.
And
thanks for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. And, before we go, I am curious to know, you don't have to have any questions for me, but if you do you have any questions for me before we go?
I don't think so.
Okay. And that is totally fine. That's not everyone has a question for me. Anyway, yeah, I really appreciate hearing your story, Tracey. I kind of feel like you have a very slow and steady, methodical, while also like gently embracing change in your life. And, I just want to commend you for this business that happened on accident and happened based on pressure for you to build it. But obviously here you are 4 years later and you're enjoying what you're doing and you constantly challenge yourself to profit more every single year. And it's just great to take this time to capture your story and hopefully give you a breather in this time and also an opportunity to reflect on your success so far. So I hope that you give yourself time to pat yourself on the back sometimes, because you definitely deserve it.
I try to as often as I can, but yeah.
Wonderful. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tracey. Appreciate your time. And to our listeners, we hope you got a lot out of this conversation. And with that said, we'll talk to you in the next episode. Tune in next time. Hey, this is your host, Jen Amos. Thanks again for listening to today's episode of Holding Down the Fort by US Vet Wealth. Visit holdingdownthefortpodcast.com to access the full show notes of this episode, including resources mentioned and bonus content. Once again, that's holdingdownthefortpodcast.com. Lastly, stay after this outro music for something a little extra. Thanks again and chat soon. Bye for now. All right, welcome to the post commentary. Thank you for sticking around. And I really, really hope that you got a ton of value from listening to Tracey's story. Man, it's been quite a season. If you have been here from the very beginning of season 7, I just say thank you. I think I mentioned this in a past episode. It's been quite a journey to bring this show together. This show is completely different from season 6 and all the seasons before. This time around, we are more honed in and purposeful, with what we want to accomplish with our show. And we are incredibly grateful for the partnership with my company, US Vet Wealth, and with the Rosie Network. So this is the last interview I have with someone from the Rosie Network for this season. So I'm just incredibly, incredibly grateful. I hope that by now you would have checked out therosienetwork.org to learn more about this incredible nonprofit. And hopefully you are inspired yourself to, apply for their cohort program and just dip your feet in entrepreneurship. Or if you have a hobby that you're ready to turn it into a business, the Rosie Network does it all. So once again, check them out at therosienetwork.org. And special thanks to Stephanie, Trisha, Ken, Ebeth, to everyone who I have interacted with in the off season preparing for this. This wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for you and your trust in Scott and I to make this possible. So thank you. And we may or may not be featuring the Rosie Network again for season 8. Stay tuned. I may or may not talk about it in the season finale episode of season 7. So I don't know. Until then, I may or may not be revealing what's to come for season 8 in 2024 in our free podcast portal. So you can have access to that by going to holdingdownthefortpodcast.com/portal. And yeah, we don't know. You will only know if you join the portal, which is free, and you can leave anytime. If this is the first and last episode you listen to, I hope that you will join us in the portal to just get more amazing content, especially if you are a aspiring podcaster, an entrepreneur, or you're seasoned and you're just looking for more inspiration, more resources, or, as I always say, you are looking to do more than follow orders, think outside the box, and manifest your dreams. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to the Rosie Network. Thank you, Tracey. Thank you to everyone who has been a guest on the show, the cohort members of Service to CEO program by the Rosie Network. I am incredibly, incredibly grateful. And I hope that you all will join me for the season finale coming soon. So thanks so much and chat with you then.